On the topic of the states that have had direct access since the 50s or 60s, Michigan is now recently the last state to be entitled to direct access. Can you fill me in a little bit on that or talk about that topic a little bit?
Well, I'll refer you to a paper in the Physical Therapy Journal published in 2012 by a guy named Mike Shoemaker that very elaborately detailed reasons why Michigan hadn't gotten direct access. But the gist of it is political process, meaning physical therapists are not large donators to their political action committee as a profession. Our political action committee expenditures prior to recent years, till we've really become much more wise to the process. You know, we spent maybe $10,000 to $13,000 a year in political action committee contributions to legislators. Organizations like Blue Cross Blue Shield spend well over $500,000 to $700,000 a year from their PAC. The physician groups spend well over $200,000 a year, and for those organizations, those are especially the physicians. That's only from their PAC. They also have innumerable individual physicians who host fundraisers and contribute, and those I wasn't able to track in some of the data that I looked at. And I know for a fact physical therapists aren't doing that. So it's really a matter of physical therapists are generally underfunded in the political arena to be able to gain the exposure that we need to share with legislators the truth about issues like direct access. So we lose the political game, hands down. It's not that money buys votes, but money buys exposure, and we're fighting exposure. We're fighting just sort of cultural perceptions that the physician knows everything, so if they say something's bad or dangerous, you know, then it must be. You know, earlier on, in earlier efforts, there wasn't the same amount of literature and data that there is now. It's really, in the last 8 years, expanded considerably, especially with regard to the cost data. That was missing early on. But in general, it was playing the game. The other difference in why we were successful this time was that we found compromise language with the physician groups that they could accept. Part of that is we did stretch to provisions that we were not comfortable with and didn't really like. You know, 21 days and 10 visits is pretty restrictive. But at the same time, it's what they could go for. And we did have a compromise bill in 2005. And at that time, the physician group said they weren't comfortable with even 24 hours of direct access. So we've sort of come back in what we've been asking for, and they've come forward, I think, quite a ways in their culture. And in speaking with their lobbyists, as we've worked together fairly closely over the last couple of months, they have a culture change going on in their organization between the old guard, older physicians, and the new guard, the younger physicians who recognize the value that every team member brings. And so they have internal struggles. And the fact that they went for the language that they did, I think, reflects that they've come a long way too. So it was largely the compromised piece with the primary opponents who were frankly the most influential. Blue Cross Blue Shield was initially putting up a bunch of barriers, but the TIBARD bills that allow third-party payers to continue to require a prescription as a condition of payment if they so desire helps really neutralize any argument or concern that they have that this is a cost issue. And they can't argue the safety component of that because we have the physicians supporting it. And they're the ones who would most appropriately speak to safety, you know, in the legislator's eyes. So we really were able to neutralize all of the opposition and move forward. And we hadn't done it to that extent in the past. In the past, we really were shooting for the moon.